So it was through a friend, Anna Fradik, that she told me about it, and I thought it was quite interesting, quite a nice idea. And so I'm a member not for so long. Actually, it was a surprise being one of the committee members, because I was like 1 week before or 2 weeks before being selected or being in the lottery, that I became a member. And then I said automatically, I will volunteer as part of the selection committee. Well, actually, the idea of having an alternative way of treating economy, I think it's very important. Then the fact that I think it's a very intelligent way also to deal with the neoliberal way of earning money, because everybody can be a part of Robin Hood and can invest and can earn, and at the same time Robin Hood as a cooperative can develop projects that use this way as the neoliberal way uses in a different way. So it's really like it's quite well the name Robin Hood, because this attempt of spreading out money in a more intelligent and common way, also having the possibility of thinking. And this is the other part which I also think it's very important in Robin Hood, which is thinking how commons can be an alternative way of economy also. And how this is important for society in all aspects. Well, I've defined some criteria, to think about being so different. The projects, there are some that goes into alternative economies, a lot that go into commons, also to talk about commons. What does this mean? And in several different fields. So I've defined before starting to read the projects, I defined some criteria which I thought it would be important to help me evaluate. So when evaluating the projects, I always think about how it has to be relevant in a way for the context where it is, local context, but also that it can bring a good example that can be viral in a global context. Then how the common is developed. What is this idea of common, the collective? How does it is being developed? Then what are the possibilities of having support from other sources? If it's really possible for the project itself to go and search for other kind of financial support or other kind of support. If this kind of financing of support, it's important on this stage of the project also, if it can give a push to develop more the project. And then if Robin Hood would be proud to support this project also. I think it's also important that since Robin Hood is not so well known still, to give, this is also a good way of promoting the ideas of Robin Hood. So to be together, to connect with projects, I think it's also very important because it defines what kind of path Robin Hood wants. Well, since I'm not an economist, I cannot talk from that perspective. But what I can say is that from the experience that I have for a long time, always tried to develop this idea that for one side to decide how do we manage one idea in a collective way, so that it is possible to be more participative for the people that work with that, being a profession, including I'm talking in all the artistic projects that I've been working, but also that what input can give into the society and open this idea of being not only for the people who do it, but also to the people that can profit from it. So for me, Commons has a lot to do with this idea of how can we find a way of doing things that are for everybody and can be um, and can be that everybody can profit, which is in our society that it's a very individualistic one. It's a very big challenge, I think. Yes, and then there's always this thing of ego, no? Well, me working in arts, I have to deal with that a lot of times. But people think a lot about uh, who had the idea of doing that, or who can earn the respect for one idea. And I think it's much more interesting when you don't know exactly from where it came from, because it vanishes this thing of power, no, of individual power. So for me, it's also one of the good characteristics of commons is to defend the collective idea of conception and development, which is difficult. But I think that Robin Hood actually, with this idea of earning money to a fund, and since it's spread out through the world, it could start thinking about how can Robin Hood develop projects in a global sense, no? In terms, I think it's very interesting that there is the possibility of develop or supporting local projects, because I also believe a lot in the viral aspect of if one thing works, it can develop into other small things. But being a network of a lot of people with different, how do you say, capacities, maybe Robin Hood can start thinking of developing bigger projects that can be important for a certain area or certain geographic zone. So put all the focus in one project for 1 year, for instance, or through 1 year. Maybe it's not, but to create this network that could bring all the members of Robin Hood to focus on one project per year, or this, I think it would be a good way of development.